Yeah, so Deckable is this, it's all about turning up every day and journaling and meditating and drawing the cards that you need for wherever you are on your personal growth journey, right? And or just personal learning, because there's literally decks on Deckable that can teach you this, you can teach that. You choose the decks that need to speak to wherever you are right now. And we've
Can
got
you,
one,
I'm sorry. I was going to ask if you can create like a journal, a
yeah,
digital journal that people can write in
it's
also.
automatic. It's totally
Okay.
automatic. If
Oh,
you
that's
if
awesome.
you put your deck on Deckable, there is automatically with every card draw the ability to journal. And so not only do we never forget the cards that you drew, we never forget what you thought about, what you felt about in that moment, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
And you can share those thoughts and feelings with friends as well, right? So at this point with Deckable, we've got over 1,000 creators on the platform and over 500 decks. And we're pulling together this experience for daily practice around journaling, meditation, and card drawing. Sort of just lifelong learning. Okay, so let's just introduce the team here. You've also got myself. Maybe you've met me before, maybe not. And my background is in tech and also media. I've published and produced board games. So I uniquely transitioned from like cardboard, where I have a love of cardboard, and into card decks. And that's probably, and my tech background is probably why I spotted that it's like, why is there no digital solution for card decks, right? Um, and then basically Mark joins me today as part of the team. And Mark and I met at Business Objects, which was this wonderful, amazing tech startup that we just was such a kind of learning palace, if you like, a wonderful place of really smart people to learn how big software companies are run. And then so Mark and I work in the kind of biz dev and marketing front. And then Paul and Jason are on the development side of the platform. So there's four of us working on this now, which is, much of the basically the original year was just me building and working with this. And then now there's the full team working on it. So Deckable is really, moving faster. We're fueling the rocket ship, if you like, moving forward. There's just a lot of momentum and a lot of knowledge on how the industry works and how to kind of pull this together and take this thing to the next level, right? So and basically, Deckable is all about daily practice workflows, right? So using your phone, and I know we all love card decks, right? But sometimes we don't have those card decks with us every moment of the day. Sometimes we leave them at home, intentionally or not intentionally. Sometimes we have a crappy moment, guaranteed. Phone is in pocket, right? Fully charged, because that's how we pay for things, right? And my deck is on my phone. So that's a wonderful experience. So we can draw a card, pick a layout. We can do custom spreads, tarot spreads if you want. And randomness is a really key part of Deckable. So you can choose the cards if you want. You can choose the deck. You don't feel like that today? Let Deckable choose the deck. Let Deckable choose the cards. Let the universe dive in and influence your choice. So here we are. I just choose Anna's deck. Choose one, two, or three cards at random. Here's my card. I can flip it over. Very, very simple. And that's the most common use case for card decks is people just to draw one card at random, and it's that simple. We can do so much more, but it's a wonderful to know that it's that simple to get going with the app. Okay, so that's running through again. So we go into the next slide. And then journaling is an integral part of it because whatever you draw, what is it you feel about it? What does it make you think? Like pausing to stop in the moment to reflect on what does that card tell you? What do you need to hear right now? And finding that quiet moment. And that's the wonderful thing is we often have those quiet moments when we've got our phone with us. We could be on a bus, out in nature. We could be waiting in reception somewhere to get in, and we've got those spare few minutes. We could be doom scrolling, or we could be drawing a card, journaling, and meditating, right? And so that's a big deal about Deckable, pulling that all together. And here I am. I can just type into my phone from the keyboard, or I can talk to my phone, right? So if I talk to my phone, it'll just transcribe the words into text for me, and all that's saved away. And it saves back to my timeline. And in Deckable, the timeline is just so important because it's like your done list. Every time you turn up in the app, it's got all your information is there. Every time, every card you've ever drawn, every journal note you ever made, it's all there all the time. So you can always go back and reflect on what you've done previously. So moving on. And then meditation is a core part of it, right? So you can, if you don't have to meditate, but if you do want to meditate, you can just pick a card, meditate on that card, and you just set a timer and it counts down the timer. And then at the end of the meditation, if you want, you can just go straight into journaling. Because often, the things that disturb us in the middle of meditation, the thoughts that pop into our head are the very things we should be journaling about. What is it that I'm worried about? Well, the things that came into your head while you were sitting there in silence are probably what's on top of mind. So journaling on those is a great thing. And then you can share that with friends, with family, save to your timeline. You can reflect on that later, right? So meditation is very important. Moving on. And then obviously we have 500 decks on Deckable. That's a lot of decks, right? And that's growing literally by the day. New decks are arriving. And it's just a lot of decks to look at and to explore. So it's a wonderful, you choose exactly what deck you need for the day, right? And we have decks under every genre. We have business decks, we have yoga fitness decks, we have therapy decks, tarot decks, oracle decks, etc., right? And our goal, our mission really is, our view is the people who, like, I don't know if we did a show of hands here, I bet everyone on this call has got 10 plus decks, right? It's very typical to have 10, 20 plus decks, and you can't carry those with you. But there's a lot of people, there's even more people who don't know why card decks are so wonderful, right? And to me, that's kind of surprising. But I think it's also a wonderful opportunity. When Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, he created it looking like a card deck, right? And now it finally acts like a card deck. Like Deckable is the app the iPhone has been waiting for. And our goal, our vision is to put card decks in the hands of more people. So imagine a card deck in everyone's pocket. That's a powerful vision. And that means there's more decks to be sold to more people to help in the mental wellness space, choosing an affirmation for the day, setting an intention, setting some manifesting, journaling, etc. All those things are all possible in Deckable. So moving on.
And card decks as well, Nick, are a great way for self-learning, great learning experience every day as well. So they lend themselves, rather than a 600-page book that you have to dive into and really commit to. Actually, a card deck, you can learn something new every single day. Do a new draw, learn something about yourself as well. So it's a great way to really push the medium of card decks to a much wider audience as well.
Totally.
I had a question with if somebody chooses a card, if they don't quite understand what it means, is there an option on there for them to kind of look up that definition?
Oh yeah, totally. Like there's a guidebook. With a printed deck, there's usually a deck and there's a guidebook. And it's usually a painful process that you have to go, which card is that? Oh, it's the Hierophant, and then you'll flick through the guidebook and look it up. With Deckable, you don't have that. You just go straight. A digital card deck doesn't have to have two sides like a piece of paper. We just flip to the third side or the fourth side for the guidebook.
Awesome.
So it's really effortless to do that. I think, and sadly, I think most people don't look at the guidebook because it takes effort.
Yeah.
People use the guidebook. With Deckable, it's zero effort. It's there, just flip to the guidebook really easy.
And all our creators are, really amazing people in terms of their creativity. So some creators actually deliver narration onto their slides as well, because they like to narrate the meaning behind the card and or some thoughts as well. So as you draw the card, you can have the creator actually talking to you and speaking to you about the card as well. So again, the beauty of a digital card is the fact that it's not bound to a two-dimensional object. It's N+1 video as well can be consumed within the card, so you can actually put video into one of the card sides as well. So it's really powerful.
Totally is the case. One of the things that dawned on me was I've read so many books, and as I was reading the book, I go, oh my God, this book's going to change my life. And then what do we do? Did it change my life? No, because I got on with reading the next book. And I forgot to put that book into action, into practice. And that's really where Deckable kicks in, because you can actually draw a card from the deck, remind yourself, reflect, repeat. We need a lot of repetition to get us into things. So that's really the core essence of Deckable. And I mean, one thing to understand here is that we are early, right? This is a new category. Deckable is a new category. Digital card decks have been around, but no one's done it properly. No one's done it like the way we have done it, which would be multi-deck, super tactile on Android and iOS, on phone and tablet, etc. And we all adopt things differently. So one of the things to remember when something is new is don't be afraid to repeat and explain and re-explain, because people forget. People don't hear everything we say to them, and there's nothing wrong with repetition, right? And if you think about, when was the first time you tried Etsy, eBay, Uber? We all try things in different sequences, in different orders, and just recognize that with your customers, bringing them to Deckable will take repetition. But we didn't all just jump to Spotify straight away. But now are we going to give back our Spotify and go back to CDs again and albums? Probably not, right? And I think the same is going to be true of digital, because once people begin to recognize the value of having a deck in their pocket all the time, that beats having a physical deck, right? I leave my decks out. They're like artwork to me. I leave them out to be seen, but it's wonderful to have it in my pocket to be able to draw from the card at any time. So, yeah, so we're definitely things are moving along. And I think one of the things, this is 3 wonderful short stories here. Michelle brought her first deck to Deckable, and one of the funniest comments was shortly after she'd published her deck on Deckable, she's like, oh, I'm using Deckable a lot more than I imagined. I thought it was much more useful than I thought it would be. She wasn't really even a fan of it. She just decided to put it on there. Now she's become a firm fan. She uses it a lot, and she's now loaded the rest of her decks onto Deckable, and she's introduced us to a publisher, right? So it takes time to win people over, and that's what we've done. Is we've put a lot of heart and soul into looking after our community of creators, because if you guys aren't happy, we're not happy. If we are all happy, we grow together. We're going to, a rising tide floats all boats, right? So second example, Chris, her messages from the Oracle cards deck is probably the most shared influencer deck on TikTok. You will see it everywhere. So Chris is a really very savvy person. She's pulled together an amazing business there. And Chris trialed us with one deck. She's now loaded in all her decks onto Deckable, and she's introduced us to Rebel Deck as well. So just these are just common stories that we're experiencing with Deckable. And third example, Deborah brought 3 decks to us. And she had all sorts of resistances as to why she wasn't going to share Deckable yet with her audience. We've worked with her through every single one of those points of resistance, so she's now fully on board at the next release with the new features we're going to tell you about. She's fully in. And she's also introduced us to US games, right? So these, I have hundreds of stories like these, but I just thought these were three valuable stories to reinforce the situation. And Deckable is built on top of a really closely connected community. There are a lot of people who sell card deck creation courses, and Anna and her community is a perfect example of that, right? And we've nurtured this and pulled together all these creators and artists with their artwork to Deckable, because together we can achieve more, and that's really the mindset of Deckable, right? So passing the 500 decks is thanks to all of these people who are on board and supporting and nurturing the Deckable community. And I don't know if you're new to Deckable, or if you've been on Deckable a while, you may not realize that we have this collage feature. So collaging is this super powerful set of features we have. So this piece of artwork, which is from Russell Grant's Astro Tarot deck, if you had to create that by hand, saying, here's all the artwork, here's this, to go and make it, it would take you a while, because you would get stuck in decisioning on which cards to use and how to lay them out and rotate them, etc. With Deckable, it's one click. It just randomly chooses the cards from your deck. It makes it look beautiful, and you just save that image or add it to your collage on Deckible, so it's on your landing page for Deckible. And there's just many options here. So and this is how you can actually also generate the alphabet from your deck, right? So it's very cool. So moving on, and then I think for this audience, I want to do a little deep dive into a new deck we're working on. So you'll see behind there's a little spreadsheet, and that was a spreadsheet we filled in as we began to design this deck on the 14 different ways to use a card deck. And so we gathered those ideas, and then we scribbled out the iterations of those different ideas, and they become more and more slick. We then mocked up a box cover, which is definitely not the real thing, but it's a work in progress. And you can see there on the screen there, 5 of the cards in this deck are already created, right? So that's an example of the process. And the whole idea with Deckible is you don't wait for your deck to be finished to load it on Deckible. You load it on Deckible to see how it feels, to create a better experience, right? So that's important to see. And I know so many people who've changed and thought of their deck differently, having actually played with it on the phone, on a tablet, etc. So I just wanted to share that. One other cool example here is that another example of momentum with Deckible is all 4 of these people are really quite well established on Insight Timer. And Shalini, we've worked with for a long time. She has a deck return on Deckible. Well, Tom, Jeffrey, and Keziah are also in the process of bringing they're bringing their decks to Deckible. But it's a very kind of exciting to realize that there are 17,000 teachers on Insight Timer, and bringing that community to Deckible is very exciting. So that's just a little example of sort of momentum and things we're building up.
I have a question again.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have to have your deck already published and designed before you load it onto the app, or
not at all? Not at all. Like we have an approval process to publish it, to sell it, right? But you can actually load the deck and use the deck in a really rough iterative form on your phone and tablet. So you get to experience and see that, and you can share that with connections, if you want to, so you can have other people accessing your deck during that design phase, right? Because it's great to have that feedback, to feel you're not alone in the design process, right? Does that make sense?
So we're creating our own like design, and also like our guidebook and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of that's there, and you can iterate on all of that and add to it as you go. And there's lots of people who launch their deck on Deckible and then say, what, I want to add in, Mark was mentioning audio before. I'd love to record an audio track for every card. I'm saying, great, just add it later. Don't hold up the process of releasing your deck, right? That's like, we all get stuck in perfection syndrome. It's like, I can't do this until I've done that. It's like, no, you can release your deck right now, and you can add the audio and the video tracks later if you want to, right? So that's pretty cool. So one of the things we want to talk about right now is category design, because basically the whole idea of a digital card deck is a category, right? So we and with our creators, we're co-creating this. It's not just our responsibility. Deckible is the code, right? But it's our code plus your decks that makes for the experience. And so, one of the things that's important when you're creating a category is not to assume that your audience understands what it is or why. So we have to remind people why they love decks. Well, because they're fun, they're tactile, they feel like a game, they're snackable, right? There are many ways and many types of decks. Randomness is really important. You can combine cards from different decks, right? That's the kind of why we like card decks. What is a card deck? Well, we've kind of broken some of the limits of that. We can have as many cards as we like. We can have as many sides as we like. We can have images, audio, video, prompts, etc. And then how to use the deck, right? That's important. And we've packaged that up and to help you to make sure that your deck can be communicated in that way. And Deckible is all about making this easier to help you and us create this category for digital card decks. And in simplifying this process, we've really identified 7 key segments to the card deck industry. Because what we're trying to do is pull together the whole card deck industry into one and say, look, everyone, look how big the card deck industry is, because people don't realize some people are off in the Tarot and Oracle space and they don't think of the rest of the thing as the industry they're in. But there's workplace and strategy decks, there's wellness and therapy decks, creativity and ideation, and so on. So with all of these categories, this is new thinking that we pulled together. You will see this in our deck store change to being 7 top-level categories in the deck store, and then you drill below that into subcategories where we can create as many categories as we want. So this is a big step to be able to explain that why card decks are so exciting and how many different card decks there are. Because the more card decks there are, the more valuable it is to everyone, because there's as Steve Jobs said, there's an apps for that, right? And we would say there's a deck for that, right? It just makes sense. And we're well on our way with 500. So we have a very strong point of view on what this is and why. And we've written all that down, and you can go and read that at cards.deckable.com, our why or how or what of card decks. And our point of view keeps evolving as we learn more, but it's really interesting. And we're trying to be really vocal about what we think and what we believe, and we're trying to encourage you as our creators to come and be as vocal as we are and join us in that journey, right? Because we are educating the world and teaching people on what's possible and why this is significant. So we think that's kind of cool. So if we can create a bigger card deck market, there's more for everyone. We're creating a bigger pie, right? It's definitely abundance mindset that we have. There is more to be created because there is more. There is more for everyone to go, more for everyone to go around. And decks are just the medium of the mobile age, is how we feel. And there's this big shift from consumption, where we read and watch, to participation, where I choose and reflect and journal and think. I want to do something. And that's the shift that Deckible lets you make from classic watching a YouTube video or reading a book. With Deckible, you're actually getting involved, choosing, moving cards around, journaling, reflecting, etc. Right? So that's a big shift. And then just to give you some examples, I'm going to just quickly run through. Here's a set of cards from the workplace and strategy segment on Deckible. Here's a selection of tarot and oracle decks and creativity and ideation. I could dive in and spend an hour on any one of these slides and open up all these decks and show you everything that's there. I recognize. I saw that. That made me smile. Seeing your wave there. Wellness and therapy. Yeah. Just, it's so amazing to have this amount of decks, right? But people don't realize there's this breadth of decks. Games and challenges is another big thing, right? It's just a real accomplishment to be at this point, and to have, we couldn't have done it without you, the creators, and helping us on this next step of our journey, because we've built such a solid foundation. To have this many decks across all these different categories is important, and it's really just the beginning. What's key is, I don't know if you're aware of who these people are, but Esther Perel, you've probably heard of. She's got a very top view kind of TEDx talk. She's globally renowned therapist. Mark Groves is a relationship expert, and Steve Bartlett is a very successful entrepreneur on Dragon's Den in the UK, done a bunch of stuff. All these people have seen the deck trend. They have all jumped in and published a deck or a game, which is the same thing, and they have all sold out multiple times. This is a trend that's going to continue. More people are going to identify the potential for decks, right? And in the fullness of time, I'm pretty sure we'll get these guys onto Deckible too, right? But it's just amazing to see that. So this 3 parts of our roadmap moving forward are trials. And trials is just in the next release of Deckible, which is due out the early November, you will be able to download any deck and use it fully for 3 days. And then at the end of 3 days, you get a choice. Do you want to buy this deck or not? And if you buy the deck, then all your readings and everything are saved, but you can use them. If you don't buy the deck, then all those readings are saved, but you can't open them because they're part of the deck, right? And if you choose to buy the deck later, you can open that up and you'll get get access to all your readings. And you as creators can actually see the metrics on how many trials have happened with my deck. You could even you're even going to be able to send out coupons to people to say, well, didn't complete the trial, here's a 10% coupon, right? So we kind of think of it as Google Analytics for decks. You're going to have this a set of metrics in the next release. After that release, we're going to focus on challenges. So who's done a 30-day challenge for anything, or a 7-day challenge, or 100? Yeah, exactly, right. We've all done challenges. Challenges are perfect for decks. So you can create a deck that is designed for a 30-day challenge for an artist to create, for someone to journal, to someone to do any challenge you want. You can create a deck for that, right? And we will be adding features to Deckible. You could use Deckible for challenges already, but we will be adding features to drip feed each card to you. There'll be an alert pops up on your phone on day 7 of the challenge, and you'll get the 7th card, right? So this is very powerful stuff. And we think it fits beautifully with card decks, perfect with the content. And we have so many amazing decks in that space already. And then the third piece of the roadmap is membership decks. And this is where basically you can charge per month for access to your deck. So you can actually build community, build engagement, build bonus Zoom calls and extra content around your deck, but people are paying monthly to get that. And the reason this came up was because creators saying, well, I'm not that bothered about selling my deck. It doesn't actually add up to very much. As soon as we start talking about recurring revenue, everyone's much more excited. And so that's what this is a recurring revenue extreme opportunity for creators. You can create a community and serve them on Deckible for recurring revenue.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but so they would have to pay for your deck monthly instead of just like a membership for that actual.
Yeah, they can. I mean, they would probably, if you want to, you can still let people buy the deck individually. They can just buy the deck, or they can join your premium membership, where they get access to extra content. They get access to you through community meetings or Zoom calls or whatever. And they also get access to the other 100 people that are part of your community. And that's what when we go to an event, what do we pay for? We pay for the creator, the person who's running the event. We pay for the content, and we pay for the people we meet at the event, the community. And that's what this is packaging up. So we think that's really valuable to creators. And you know, we'd obviously love to hear your feedback on that. We're shaping that. We have some really strong ideas about how that should be, but we really want you to help us shape that.
It allows creators to get closer to their audience, and it's a fantastic way for card deck users to really get to know the thought process of creators who want to deliver live content. So if you think about a card deck, a physical card deck is finished. It's 50, 51 cards, however it might be, but it's finished, and it can't transform any further unless there are another iteration they have to buy. But you can actually start to deliver live card decks that have that are always iterative in terms of how they grow and additional cards that go in there. So there are lots of things you can do with a membership style approach as you grow your audiences as well. You know, and we're probably talking less than a cup of coffee a month to subscribe to your membership package, and that will be entirely up to the creators of how they want to price and position it. But we just feel it allows you to really get to understand your audience, really get to understand what your next card deck might be, and so forth. So we're very excited. But as Nick said, it's a 3-release roadmap. The reason why it's the 3rd in that release is that trials and challenges and some of the other stuff that we've got in between that's coming allows us to grow the card deck user base on Deckible to a point where membership starts to make sense, and those recurring revenues will start to feed into you, the creators.
Yeah. One thing I didn't mention there specifically for challenges, you throw a challenge, 30 people come and join my challenge. You've just sold 30 copies of your deck. You now have 30 people sharing their progress on their challenge. Come support me on my challenge, or come join me, and then maybe another 30 people come and join, or maybe 3,000 people come and join, right? Depends on your audience size, but challenges are built to grow an audience and grow engagement and grow community.
and trials. We're all used to going to bookstores and being able to maybe flick through a book to get an experience. But sometimes when we look at card decks, they're sealed. We can look at the back, we can read about them, a physical card deck, and understand a little bit about the author and a little bit about what their categories and what they're trying to help us with. But actually, we don't really get to understand how good's the artwork. Well, do the cards resonate with me? Trials is unboxing. It's an unboxing experience for 3 days, where a user can really experience your card deck, understand what that means to them, and then go, do you know what? I can't live without this. Press the buy button. So
Yeah.
it's really starting to give that unboxing feeling to your users and to a wider audience as well.
And just to build on that, we had a conversation with a publisher the other day where we were talking about this, and it's the idea of saying, okay, here it is. Here's your deck on Deckible. You can have it for 3 days. It locks up. And the end of the 3 days, you can buy the digital deck. Or by the way, here's the link to buy the print deck. We're not forcing you to buy either. We're just opening the door for you to look inside the box and get closer and fall in love with the artwork, the creator, and ultimately buy the product, right? So we're here to reduce your cost of sale, reduce your cost of customer acquisition. That's what it's all about. So the next piece we want to talk about is community expectations, and because this really is a team effort, right? And you can see there on the right hand side, the traffic for Deckible has spiked up massively in the last month, and that's really a function of lots of hard work. Like there's no the idea of an overnight success is just never true. It's just lots of a long slog. But what that is a product of is us having 500 plus decks with 1,000 creators and lots of SEO. The more of our creators who link back to Deckible and link back to their deck page and link back to their creator page, the SEO we accumulate gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So we help you get found more and more. And now once we've given you this SEO dashboard, you will see how effective your deck is and how your SEO is. And if you link back to it and share and promote that, you will see more traffic and engagement, more trials. And just in case you don't have those links, if you go to your deck and you pop down the menu, there is a menu option that says email deck link summary, and that will send you an email shown below that image there with the link to the URL for all your decks, the URL for all the genres that your deck is sit within, and the URL for your creator page on Deckible. So if you can link back to those pages from your blog, website, Instagram feed, that's really going to just add status and momentum for all of us. It's kind of definitely going to, rising tide again. So moving on from that, we are creating a category. And so there's, 3 roles. We're creators, we're evangelists, and we're collaborators. At a basic level, we're creating decks, write a great bio, pick your collages, share your deck, right? But we're also evangelizing the category. And one of the smartest ways to evangelize is move on to being a collaborator. Because honestly, I cannot say this enough, find friends in the Deckible community. Because if you see someone on Deckible whose deck you like, who likes your deck, you can both have a conversation and go, hey, I'll share yours if you share mine. And that makes each of you more interesting to your audience. You can share your deck, they can share yours. You get seen by a new audience, and that's very easy to facilitate. And that was a lot of our thinking behind the collaging tools that we've made, because we make it so ridiculously easy for you to create shareable content that's visual. And that content is static today. Watch this space. We will be creating animated GIFs from this. So you will be able to take a deck and see, take your deck artwork and create an animated artwork that's shareable via social. And what if we take that one step further? What if we let your customers create animated GIFs of the reading that they've just done? Do you think they're going to want to share that if they look cool? Of course they are, right? That's why Instagram took off, because Instagram made average people look like amazing photographers. And Deckible is going to make it easy to share your personal growth journey with friends and colleagues. And so as we head towards the launch of the next product, I always believe in having a small, medium, and large ask ready. So you can, do all or none of the above. But if you're at the very minimum, it'd be awesome if you could do a small thing before the launch, during the launch, and after the launch. Think of the things and how you can help who you can befriend in the community, who can you connect us with for the launch of our product. We're gonna relaunch Deckible into the 7 segments that we talked about at the beginning with the Septagon. Is it a Septagon? I think it is a Septagon. So basically, we're going to tell a story for the Tarot and Oracle media press. We're going to tell a story to therapy and coaching media, and so on into each of the 7 segments. It's going to make much more sense to them because we're speaking to them about content in their niche. And for each of our launches, we're going to involve maybe 5 to 10 creators who are going to be the co-spokespeople on this, and their decks will be featured in the launch of each of those categories. So we think that's very exciting. It's very collaborative, and yeah, we're really pumped about that. And then one of the things that strikes me very interesting is, like, I realized what people don't know. So we are just going to start from ground zero and build up from there, right? So we're going to teach you what's missing if you've not got anything in your, have you got a profile? Have you got your photo, your bio, your links? Have you got your story together for your deck? What's my from and to? Before my deck, this was what happened. After my deck, this is the transformation that was brought about. You need to be able to explain what your deck brings to your customer. Why should they buy your deck? And I feel for a lot of creators that's missing, and we can definitely give you coaching through that process. And then also just, check your last 10 posts before you start following people. Make sure that your house is in order. And, if you saw your content, would you follow you? Right? To have a set of content when you start following people, and also do follow people. One of the things that shocks me is a lot of people go, they don't follow anyone. And so you're waiting for people to find you. Well, honestly, the best way to go get found is to go find other people, go comment on other people's posts and make friends. And we will give you a lot of support in teaching you through this process, because if you've not done it before, it sounds alien, it sounds strange, it sounds weird. And fear not, we have done this a lot, so we'll help you through that process. And then really all about teaching you to play bigger and reach out and create a bigger market, a bigger opportunity, and a bigger community. And then so a website update. Oh, Mark, do you want to talk through this one? This is
thanks, Nick. Just briefly, part of the relaunch, part of the new category segments and everything, and the trials and everything else that's coming, we thought it'd be a really nice time as well to give the website a much needed update. So the focus is on wellness, daily practice, workplace creativity. The whole site is reactive design, so it will look seamlessly as good on your website, your laptop, or your phone, or your tablet. Nick's put a link to.
Is that still right, Mark? Because you changed that the other day. Is that still valid?
That is still correct. Yeah, that's still right. Yeah, that'll work with the password Deckible, so that should take you through to that. So yeah, all the pages have been redesigned. We're going to be redesigning the marketplace, which is where you guys go as creators to get you things like access to your decks, your bios, your collages. So all that will be branded as well at the same time, and really just give it a very much. I hope you'll notice we're moving from images of people or and so forth to images of product card decks. We can't get enough card deck images. All these images you see at the start will be random, so there'll be lots of different decks every time people go to it, so they'll get an idea of the size and the scale that Deckible is. One day you'll see your deck, the next day you'll see a friend's deck, etc. So there's going to be a lot of work put into that to ensure that we get we're not static, and we don't become stale as a brand and as a website as well. And also what we're going to be doing is all this learning for us in terms of how do we make this look great on a phone, on a tablet, on a laptop. We're going to deliver back to the creator community as well. So what we're going to be putting in place is a creator zone where we'll do all the heavy lifting, we'll do all the hard work in terms of creating templates and creating look and feel, and like we have here, 2 phones angled apart and all that stuff. All you need to do is drop your images on it, and we're going to deliver you those images via via Canva, and you'll be able to, those templates via Canva, you'll be able to instantly just go in, take a quick screenshot of your deck in Deckible, and then drag it into Canva and the template, and you're ready to go. So we're trying to remove all those barriers, because what we understand as marketeers and product marketeers is the hardest thing a lot of the time. You know, you've done all the hard work creating the deck and creating a wonderful experience for the deck. You then got to go off and market it. Well, actually, if we can give you an out of the box marketing experience, which is, hey, have you thought about this blog post? Have you thought about these social posts? Here's some images that are absolutely the right size for Insta for you. Here are the right images for Facebook. Here are the right size for LinkedIn. All you need to do is put your deck images and your collage images or whatever you want to put in there onto them, and then post them onto your followers. So we're going to try and do as much of that as possible. And that sort of brings on to deck trials, because deck trials is all about, okay, I've created my deck, I've uploaded my deck onto Deckible. Now what? Okay, well, you've all got an audience, you've all got followers, you've all got people out there that you want to try and reach out to. Trials is a great way for them to come and give your deck a go on Deckible. So will help you instantly find a wider audience, because every user of Deckible now has access to a free trial, a 3-day trial of the decks on there. How it will work, by the way, is that if you do the math, there's over 600 decks on Deckible. So quite frankly, I could trial a deck a day for the next 2 years and still just about run out of days towards the end of year 2. But that's not going to happen. We're going to give trial credits. So it's going to be a credit-based process, and I'll have a number of credits, just like I do on Audible and other subscription platforms, and I'll be able to use a credit for a trial. I can trial the deck for 3 days. If I want to trial it for another 3 days, I could use up another credit. When I buy a deck, my credits are refreshed. So instantly, the concept of buying a deck and buying something on the Deckible platform from you great creators is the fact that they will get their trial credits back. So if somebody just continues to go in and buy decks and just trial a deck with 1 credit, they will have more and more credits build up. So they'll have more and more opportunity to trial more decks, or even send decks to maybe their family and friends to say, hey, here's a trial credit, why don't you try Deckible? What we found in the past is, what do trials do? They enhance user experience and user engagement. It's that whole unboxing experience wrapped into a 3-day time trial. Why 3 days? Focus. What you want is the ability for your audience to focus for those 3 days. Ensure that for those 3 days that they do multiple draws. They do a draw in a morning. They journal. They understand how to meditate. And part of that trial process will be nudging them as well. So with trials comes a new notification platform into Deckible, which will allow us to say, hey, it's time you did your draw, it's time you did, why not meditate? And we'll take them to the right area in the app as well. Notifications become even more powerful later in the year and into next year, because as your audience of people who have trialed your deck and also purchased your deck builds, we can allow you to send nudges to them. You know, you don't know who they are, but we know who they are because we know what device they're on. So you can actually, if, for example, anybody that's trialed my deck and not purchased my deck, I might want to send a coupon to. I might want to do a promotion to them. So you can send them a notification on their app to say, hey, did you know card deck X is, here's a 10% coupon. Thanks for trialing. You know, you might want to have a time of year. There might be certain days in the year. There might be some specific reason, just like the you know, Amazon do with Prime Day, etc. There might be a specific reason that you want to do that, and you can send that out to anybody who's trialed your deck, and you might want to promote your new deck to your existing users. So you might want to, customers of your new deck, you might want to say, hey, I've got a new deck on Deckible. Here it is. So that's trials. We think, oh well, we know from experience it will drive faster sales. The online subscription market has seen faster, more user engagement from trial-based activity than actually you just going somewhere and you're saying, I have to buy that. You know, if I'm allowed to try it, I then get more engaged with it. Just a few images of the creator zone I talked about. So this will be coming with the next release. So as a card deck creator, you'll have access to, if you think of it as Google Analytics for decks, you know, who's been on my page on the deck store, who's trialed my deck, where have they come from, what's the geography, you know, where am I pulling my user base from, what are my sales like, how are my sales this month compared to last month. So all that information is going to be available to you inside the creator zone as well. That's all we have at this moment in time, I believe, Nick.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to open it up to Q&A, and if you haven't already, please feel free to ask any questions. Though I noticed there are some that have come through from on the chat.
Yeah, Linda asked a question about can people going into Kindle see Deckible as a product? Gosh, I don't think that's possible. I don't know how we would do that. You're asking is Deckible linked to Kindle?
It's not today, but it's a great question. It's likened to Kindle, the experience of ebooks. We very much see it as you know, the iPhone instead of the Kindle being the device for your card deck. So a user doesn't have to go out and buy another device to experience a digital card deck experience. But the whole process is very similar to, if you are familiar with audiobooks and you use audiobooks, it's very similar to, you know, going onto your Kindle, going into your store, picking a book, and if you like Kindle, they offer that experience where you can browse the first chapter or so to get an understanding of whether you want that book. Very similar to trials on Deckible moving forward.
I've got two questions.
Go ahead,
the
Laura.
first one is Deckible accessible to Android users as well, and not just iPhone users?
Absolutely. When I say iPhone, I should say smartphone. I'm just an Appleite rather than an Androidite. So yes, absolutely, we're available on the Apple Store and on the Android Google Play Store as well.
And the other thing was for the trial, I don't know, 3 days. And then let's see, they have a trial for 3 days, but sometimes people can't get around to asking other people if they want to join or, you know, share it with somebody else. You know, they might take a few days, but then if we start bombarding them with notifications, I don't know, I get discouraged if I start getting bombarded with notifications right away. So I don't know. I was thinking, I don't know, why not 7 days? That's a week. And that way you have 3 times to you can give them notifications like every 2 days or something like that, or every other day. And that way they're not bombarded by it and having to make a decision right away. Because some, like me, I have ADHD. So it's like, this is too much. Forget it. I'm not even going to go with that. Because Hay House did that to me when I just sent an inquiry in and they kept calling me and they were just constantly calling me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not interested. And it irritated me. So I don't know.
Deckible will never nudge you or notify you to try and purchase the deck. Deckible, whilst you're in a trial, there will be 1, possibly 2 times during those 3 days that it will just give you a little nudge that says, hey, it's time to do a draw on whatever deck, and you click it and it will take you into a card draw and bring you back into that experience. We will never ever pressure sell or push any notifications to try and get somebody to purchase within that 3-day window. If 3 days isn't long enough, they can extend their trial. They just use another trial credit. So in reality, they have, I think we're going to potentially start with 10 trial credits. So if they wanted to, they could trial your deck for 30 days because they could just keep on using a trial credit to extend their trial of that deck. We went through numerous different days. Is it 7 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 10? You know, and we landed on 3 purely because we feel that that's enough time for someone to experience your deck and do a draw and experience the different layouts that might be associated with your deck and the cards, and to get a good feeling whether that deck resonates with them or not. What research shows us is that after 3 days, your the potential for you to go back in and trial it starts to drop off a cliff. So if you can imagine, your intensity for the first 72 hours is quite high. Then after that, it starts to dwindle because you've probably experienced enough. So we want to leave your user at that point where they go, I love it, and let them make the decision that they want to click the buy button on Deckable.
And I think they will be able to buy they'll just say, oh, I don't want it. I've got the trial. I just want to buy it right now. So they can order. And in a weird way, we're trying to support the creatives in this process as well, right? Because if we'd said, oh, it's a 7-day trial, I could hear as many creators saying to us, well, why are they having free access to my deck for 7 days? It's like, we don't know the answer to all these things. We just had to make a decision of where we were going to put the stake in the ground and say, this is where we're starting, and learn from there, right? It's just, we get a lot of data from this.
Absolutely. And another, once we start to build that data, one of the things we will be putting in is we'll be using the marketeers from Nick and myself to really focus on what we would class as A/B testing. So we will start to work out from the audience of users we have what nudges work and when. So what's the best impact to ask somebody if they want to draw? Is it first thing in the morning? Is it more towards midday? Etc. And also benefit from telling you guys, hey, don't send them a coupon, straight when they finish their trials. Allow them to wait, allow them to reflect, give them some time. If they haven't purchased within X number of days after a trial, then maybe think about doing a promotion to those users. But also remember that that user's anonymity is theirs. You will never know who purchased. They will be part of that. We will know which ID on their smartphone it is, and when you say send to these users, you'll be sending to the audience that has trialed your things within a period of time. So we won't be sharing email addresses or geography or anything like that, which again is the experience that you had with Hay House, where all of a sudden you've signed up for something and someone's bombarding you with, hey, we got a summer special on, or it's an Easter extravaganza and I can give you 25% off, and then you've got hard sell. That is not in our ethos, and we will never do that from a Deckable perspective.
Thank you for clarifying.
Great.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry, everybody on this webinar seems to be published creators of decks. Do you have to be a published creator to get onto Deckable? So I've created a deck of cards, but it sounds so basic. I've basically done it on PowerPoint. How would I then go about interfacing with you people to get that onto Deckable, or do I need to go and do something else first?
It's really easy. From PowerPoint, you can just save as PNG or JPEG, and you can save your artwork. So you'll get one piece of artwork per slide. And quite honestly, that's just exactly the same as Canva. There is no difference at that point. I actually make a lot of my decks in Keynote, which is just the equivalent to PowerPoint. And then basically, once you've got the artwork, you follow there's a video on deckable.com/import. It talks you through the process. It's a very thorough video. We get a lot of positive feedback about it, and it basically shows you how to create a spreadsheet to fill it in with one row per card, and it's all there. And then you can upload that and see your deck in Deckable within. It takes me 10 minutes, but I've done it 100 times. But it's really, allow yourself an hour maybe to watch the video and begin to work on it. And honestly, the process is iterative. So I really, you pretty much can't break it. And if you do, congratulations, we'll help you. We'll figure it out, because I really don't think you will break it. But if you do, don't worry.
And we also know that is an area that we are also going to invest time and effort and resources into the new year, to try and streamline that. It's a process at the moment in time. If we're honest, it's probably a little bit more overkill than we would have wanted. But when you're building platforms like Deckible, you focus on where you're going to get the real impact, and we believe the real impact is in the app and the user experience, and your deck's looking beautiful on the app rather than the import process. But we understand as well that we want to try and make that as easy as possible for new creators like yourself, Linda, to come onto the platform. So if you do have any problems, just reach out to us, and even if it is in the end that we'll take your PowerPoint and we'll try and upload it for you if you're really struggling.
And just in terms of, where do I go to watch the video that you mentioned?
Deckible.com/import. Thank you, Anna. I think you've put a link on the chat. I think that's where
I'll check.
that video
Thank
is.
you.
Yeah.
One more question. Does the video go over step by step of like, okay, this is what we need to do first. Okay, now that you've done this, now you can add, a link to your website or something like that? Because I have a hard time with some of these technical things. Like, I had a very difficult time creating a website using Wix because it was too complicated for me. I mean, I did part of it, but then I got lost and I didn't know who to call or anything. So is it pretty user friendly as far as the creator portion, so that we know step by step what to do?
I watched the video just this week, and it is literally step-by-step process.
Awesome.
Of actually loading up a deck into Deckible. So it very much goes through. This is what you need to do. This is how you do it. But as I said before, if you do have any issues, just reach out to us and we can help.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I pop in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I want to address Linda's comment, because I'm one of those people who sat with that lovely video. And the cool part is you have a button that can hit pause, and you do the work on your computer, and then you go back to the video and replay a little bit to make sure you did it right, and then go to the next part. So it really works in a system that's workable for your space of doing it.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
also by the way, when you start importing your video or start uploading your deck, there is a thing called a dynamic checklist, and the checklist tells you everything that's missing. So once you get past a certain point, it says this is missing, fill that in.
Oh, that's good.
Fill this in, fill this in. The list eventually it might get longer to start with, and then it'll start shrinking down to nothing, and then you're like, oh, I've done it. It really, like, 500 people plus have gone this route, right? Thousands of decks have been loaded. So it's as Mark said, I'm not going to defend it because I built it, but the back end is not beautiful. The app is the beautiful thing, right? That's where we spent our R&D dollars. But because we now have a bigger team, we're going to go back and rebuild the back to be as beautiful as the front. And that's going to be significant, because we think everyone is a deck creator, right? Like, we know that Kindle has turned so many people into authors, and there's no reason why there can't be many more deck creators. And I think Deckible can, and Canva's turn many more people into graphic designers, right? Mm-hmm. That's the nature of this age, is that the tools are accessible to more people. So yeah, we're just following that trend.
It's a great way of thinking it. So swan-like above the water, and also swan-like below the water.
That's very poetic.
Thank you.
I have a question. So in terms of joining Deckible, is there a membership? Is there is there a cost to it? Is there and how are the authors of the decks, how are they paid?
Okay, so
through people's purchases?
Do you want to take that, Mark, or should I take it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to take that. Firstly, there's absolutely no cost to come onto the Deckible platform. So there's no creator membership fees or anything, or publisher fees to pay or anything like that. There is a percentage margin on the deck sales, less sales tax, etc., that goes to Deckible to maintain the platform and so forth. And then the remaining proceeds are delivered to the authors on a quarterly basis with a statement of, here's how many decks you sold, this is how many decks you sold in October, November, December, and then the proceeds are automatically paid currently via PayPal. We are working on other payment mechanisms right at this moment in time.
Is
Awesome.
each
So,
deck, is each deck of cards and each author, is it a different charge per deck, or is it their flat charge for whatever deck you choose?
There's, as you're going to put in your deck onto Deckible, you'll see that there's a whole pricing tier that we've built, pricing matrix, and you can decide where you want your deck to be priced. So it's entirely up to the author and the creator of the deck to decide which how much they want to price their deck for. We don't put any barriers there. We're not Apple. We don't say, well, actually that deck's only going to be worth $7.99, whatever. You decide the price point of your deck and you choose one of the tiers in the pricing matrix.
Thank you.
And you can change your price over time, so you're not committed to any single price.
Yeah.
Very great. And what is the split? If you had to look at the sales split or profit split, the percentage to Deckible versus the percentage to the author?
The simple way to look at it is off the top comes 15% to the Apple Store, to App Store. And then we do a 50-50 on the 85%. So you get 42.5%. And that compares to 40% from Audible. So it's a very favorable. We're very much here to support the artists and the creators to monetize their creation.
And hopefully compares favorably to printed margins as well. So it's something that we're focused on. As we get bigger and we get more users onto the platform, we will command more conversations with the App Store input in-app purchase. So we will be able to have better conversations with Apple and Google, etc., to see if we can bring some of those margins down from their perspective as well, and then pass them back to you guys.
So just another question. You mentioned earlier that a person or consumer buying a deck can choose to have a printed version as well. Is that only for authors who already have published, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's so anybody that's got their own store, their own website where they ship their own physical decks from. You can decide where your buy physical deck button goes to. It might go to Amazon, for example, because Amazon might be holding stock. It might go to your own website because that might be being fulfilled by your logistics provider or your printer. So if you already have that in place, you literally just there's on the import process, there's an area where you say, this is the URL, this is the website or the web page I want the buy physical deck button to go to on Deckible. But also we're experiencing talking to some printers at the moment, and Nick's engaged with some printers where we know it's sometimes expensive if someone says you've got to do a run of 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever it might be initial. So we are looking at ways that actually potentially you will be able to take a deck and we'll be able to send it to a printer, and someone would be able to print one copy and send it to the end user. But that's something that we're working on because, and it's an important point. Sorry, Nick. I was just going to say it's an important point as well, because you've got to all understand as well. Whilst we're big fans of digital, we're big fans of physical as well. So this whole concept, we're not saying it's one or the other. We understand there's an engagement between both the physical deck and also the digital experience of the deck, and we believe that the both hand in hand are what's important. So we're always going to promote that as well for you guys. And by the way, we take no affiliate fees for that at all. So if you use Deckible to promote your physical decks, that's entirely up to you. You're more than welcome to do that. We don't take any affiliate fees from that.
And also just adding to Mark's point on the print on demand, That's only if the creator can turn that up, would be able to turn that off, because maybe you've already got stock, right? So the creators need to be able to choose to say, yes, I support print on demand. And we don't have this feature yet, but when we do, because it's actually not hard to implement, we just need the creator to say that's okay, right?
My question was, if I create content in Apple Pages, let's say on my MacBook, how would I load that onto your app? If it's .pages, do I change it to a PDF or do I just enter everything directly onto the app?
So in Pages, what you're talking about manual? You're talking about the guidebook specifically?
Yeah, for the guidebook.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you can paste the text directly into Google Sheets.
Okay.
And then all that text will be available as part of attached with that card. You can optionally, and some people do this if they format their guidebook as a beautifully laid out PDF, they can then split the PDF by page and load that as a piece of artwork as a physical third side to the card. Because you got two sides to your printed card, and then you can have a third side that is the guidebook, depending on how you lay it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's the challenge is there's so many ways to do guidebooks. We don't force a right or wrong way. We try and support all the different ways people want to use it. But it's pretty simple.
I created mine originally on Google Sheets, and then I thought, oh, that's not going to work. So then I exnayed that, and then I went onto Pages and created it to look like one of these ones that you see in everybody's guidebook. You know, a beautiful picture here in the corner explaining what the card is, and so wow, that's pretty cool. Use it on Sheets.
Just if you're going to do it in Pages, just make sure. My only advice if you're going to do that is that, and this is what all the good guidebooks generally have, is one page per card. But don't do half pages or roll past pages. You know, don't do a breakdown halfway down a page. So just make sure that the one card is on a whole page, and then it's really easy to upload that artwork for that page to the guidebook for that card. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think what we might do, Nick, we'll see if there's any more questions, but it just struck me that maybe we diarize sometime in November. We rerun bringing your a live webinar, which is bringing your deck to Deckible. We can, instead of that video, we can talk people through it. We can show the examples, what to do, and that will probably be good for new creators who want to bring the decks to Deckible.
That's very true. Easy to do.
I think
that'd be great.
Yeah, and if you have like a sample how a guidebook looks, as far as because I created it something like it had quotes and then it had a definition, but I don't know how that would fit into Google Sheets. So if I can see a sample of how somebody else's guidebook may look as a sample, then it'll give me an idea of that.
There's lots of examples on Deckible with the decks that are on there as well. Good example.
Yeah.
But there's literally, it's just honestly, if you've gone as far as making a nice looking document at this point, I would probably continue down that path with one page per card and then load that as the third side in the guidebook, if that makes sense. It's pretty easy to do, and that's definitely covered in the video how to do that. Both of these, the text version of the guidebook and the page artwork version of the guidebook is covered in the video. Cool. Well, anyone got any more questions? Hey, good to see you here, Heath. How you doing? Like the church, like a church you're in there.
Oh, if somebody needs support, is there a direct number to call or
We're very accessible via the web, just because we're in different time zones and stuff. But email
to support@deckable.com. You can also log a question or a support ticket from the website as well, which is deckable.com/contact. There's a contact form there for you. But yeah.
Where are you guys located?
we are located all around the world. So it's hard keeping track with where actually Nick is at any point in time, because he's very nomadic by nature these days. So Nick's currently in Bordeaux, sampling the local produce, which is mainly liquid and red, I believe. I'm based along with the rest of the development team in a county in the UK called Yorkshire, which is God's own country, and I'm in Leeds, so the nearest city that you might know have heard of is Leeds, and